What do you do with grief when there's no one to hand it to? When the person you're mourning never got a funeral, the ceremony never happened, and the world just kept moving like nothing rotted. That's where we're starting today. Not with a warm welcome, not with a playlist recommendation, with that question. Because our guest today built her entire sound out of exactly that rot. And she's been sitting with it long enough that it stopped feeling like pain and started feeling like architecture.
Germany's Saddest Riff is in the building. Which, yes, is a nickname Xavi gave her. And yes, she hates it. And yes, she keeps showing up anyway. Make of that what you will.
I don't hate it. I've just never found it inaccurate enough to correct.
See, that's the thing about Sheila. Most people, you call them sad, they get defensive. She just files it. Like a legal document. Confirmed, moving on.
Sadness is not a flaw in the structure. It is the structure. You remove it and the whole thing collapses into something soft and useless.
Right. And here I thought I was going to get through the intro without feeling like I needed a cigarette and a therapist. Welcome to the Warcast, Sheila.
For anyone who doesn't know, which, if you've been following Venomous Sin for more than 5 minutes, you probably do, Sheila Moongrave is our lead guitarist. And when I say lead, I don't mean she plays the pretty part on top. I mean she plays the part that makes you feel like something is being surgically removed from your chest and you're not sure if you should thank her or file a complaint.
No one has ever filed a complaint.
No one's survived long enough.
Today we're going deep into something that I think most people don't actually want to talk about honestly. We're calling this episode Wounds of Shadows. Same name as our first album, because this whole conversation is about scars that don't close. Not because they can't, but because some of them are load-bearing. You take them out, and you don't know who you are anymore.
And Sheila is the reason that album sounds the way it does. Not just technically, emotionally. That bitterness, that clinical precision, that thing where you hear a riff and it doesn't comfort you, it just confirms something you already knew was true, but didn't want to say out loud. That's her.
You're making me sound like a diagnosis.
Germany's Saddest Riff. It's basically a diagnosis.
Then at least it's accurate.
I want to ask something, and I'm going to ask it now before we get polite about it. The nickname. Germany's Saddest Riff. Xavi gave it to you. You kept it. Why does a nickname from him stick when you're not exactly the type to let things stick?
Because it wasn't meant as a compliment, and it didn't pretend to be. I find that easier to carry than something kind.
Interesting.
She said it like a threat, Sheila. You should probably be worried.
I said it like an observation. There's a difference.
There isn't, with you. But I'll allow it.
This is going to be a beautiful episode. I can already feel it. Today we're going into revenge fantasies, grief without ceremony, the intersection of BDSM and spirituality, which, yes, is a real conversation, and no, it's not what you think it is, and also, yes, it is. And we're going to talk about Sheila's lesbian core with what she calls rare male exceptions, which is a phrase I have been waiting to discuss publicly for longer than I will admit. But first, as always, we declare war.
Venomous Sin declares war on the cult of get over it, because some wounds don't heal. They just learn to play guitar. Revenge isn't a dirty word. It's the only language some people understand. And if you don't like it, maybe you're the problem. I didn't get over my best friend's suicide. I turned her grief into the saddest riff Germany's ever heard. And now, it's my fucking anthem.
Germany's Saddest Riff? More like Germany's most overdramatic guitar solo. You play like your grief has a monthly subscription plan.
At least my subscription actually delivers something. Yours just cancels mid-sentence and calls it art.
Aw, Sheila. So brave for monetizing trauma. Did you give Xavi his discount when you were processing together? Or was that just pro bono?
Oh please, Macabre. Your whole aesthetic is a revenge fantasy against the girls who bullied you. Difference is, I actually got paid for mine.
You two are missing the point. Sheila's riff is the band's sound, raw, ugly, and too real for the normies. Lena's revenge was physical, Sheila's was sonic, and mine, lyrical. That's why we're a fucking trinity.
You perform sadness like it's a fucking gig, Sheila. Chavi and I bled ours. There's a difference. You cried on a guitar. I cried on a knife.
Grief without ceremony detected. Get over it, culture. Deleted. Venomous sin declares war on grief.
Vengeance is not virtue. It's a cracked mirror of your own rot. You think you're striking back, but you're just carving your name into the same fucking wall you claim to hate. And Sheila, your Saddest Riff isn't a masterpiece. It's a looped lament for people who confuse pain with depth. Your sorrow is just background noise for my scream.
Oh, spare me the poetic execution, Lord. Your ego's a busted amp, and it's blowing static into my veins. You act like you've cornered the market on suffering, but let's be real. You're just pissed Sheila's scars play better than your tantrums. And don't even get me started on how you look at her like she's the last cigarette in the pack. Like a kid eyeing a broken guitar, wondering if it'll still make noise.
You two argue like two broken strings trying to hit the same note. My wounds aren't a fucking competition, children. They're inked deeper than your petty lyrics. You call them scars. I call them stories that actually matter. Unlike your art, which is just noise with a side of narcissism.
When the Lord of Shadows laughs, the night itself shivers. And yet here you are, all three of you, clawing at each other like starving rats in a cage. Your petty fights are just background static for the real horror. The kind that doesn't need a guitar solo to feel it.
Scars that never heal are the only truth you can't edit out. You want to talk about wounds, Lena? Yours are just lyrics you haven't had the guts to finish. And Sheila, your sad riff, it's a looped lament, the kind of thing people nod along to at open mics before going back to their safe, boring lives. Your wounds are your anthem, but they're out of tune.
Wounds of shadows feed on the light you hide behind, you filthy pretender. You wear your grief like a cheap leather jacket. Looks good until it tears. And Sheila, you turned your pain into a fucking brand. Congrats, you've monetized mourning. Meanwhile, Chavi and I bled ours into something real. There's a difference between a scar and a sales pitch.
You're both so busy romanticizing your own suffering you can't see the difference between a knife and a scalpel. I didn't turn my pain into a brand. I turned it into a weapon. One that cuts deeper than your self-righteous bullshit. And Chavi, your lyrical revenge is just word vomit with a side of delusion. At least my riff makes people feel something besides second-hand embarrassment.
Oh, the drama, the artistry of it all. You're not warriors. You're children playing dress-up in the ruins of your own making. Revenge isn't a virtue, darlings. It's the last gasp of the already dead. And you're all so eager to inhale.
Oh, it feels good for about 5 minutes, Chavi, until you realize you're just running in an anal obsessive circle. I don't disagree that the fire is useful, but there is a massive difference between fuel and poison. I spent years in that loop. I used to close my eyes and replay every time those girls cornered me, or every hand that touched me without asking, and I'd imagine 1,000 ways to dismantle them. It kept me alive, sure, but it also kept me stuck in that same filthy corner, circling the same wound like a dog with a bone it can't chew. The shift for me only happened when the fantasy wasn't enough anymore, when the daydreaming stopped and the actual action began. And trust me when I say the reality of it felt a lot more solid than any mental movie. Once you stop fantasizing and start executing, the fever actually breaks.
I find both of your perspectives exhausting. Revenge fantasies imply you still have enough emotional currency to spend on those people. My version of coping wasn't imagining payback or replaying scenarios. I just went numb. I erased them from the register entirely. I didn't want them to suffer or succeed. I just wanted them to cease to exist in my reality. It sounds like strength to the uninitiated, but it is really just a slow internal funeral where you're the only one who knows who died. There is no fire in it. There is just the clinical silence of an empty room.
See, there it is. Germany's Saddest Riff has officially entered the building. You erase them? That's not strength, Sheila. That's just a really expensive way to describe being emotionally lobotomized. You probably have a whole hard drive full of guitar solos dedicated to that internal funeral. It's a very anal, dramatic way to handle a bully. I didn't hit them back. I just buried my feelings in a minor key. Truly inspiring.
She's not wrong about the funeral part, Chavi, even if her delivery makes me want to check my own pulse. But let's look at the two of you. You both do the same thing. Sheila builds this technically perfect, icy wall of sound where nobody can touch her, and I built this gothic queen persona to make sure nobody dares try. We both used performance as armor. One is a costume made of PVC, and the other is a costume made of platinum blonde hair and clinical detachment. It is the same fucking wound, just dressed differently.
We are not the same, Lena. You want to be seen as the one who survived. I don't care if I'm seen at all as long as the notes are correct. Performance isn't armor for me. It is the only time the structure feels stable. But replaying scenarios of domination like you and Chavi suggest is medically stupid. You are just rehearsing trauma with a different ending, but your nervous system doesn't know the difference. You're keeping yourself locked in threat mode and calling it empowerment. It is mental self-harm in slow motion.
Maybe it is. And maybe I don't give a shit. Rehearsing a different ending is exactly how you stop accepting the original one. Wounds of Shadows exists because some scars shouldn't close quietly, and they definitely shouldn't be ignored just to keep your heart rate down. I'd rather be locked in threat mode and ready to strike than be a numb corpse playing perfect scales. But speaking of fake health, let's talk about forgiveness. The ultimate anal personality trait for people who want to look evolved.
God, I hate the forgiveness crowd. It is such a performative lie. Forgiveness is for you, not them. No, thank you. Forgiveness is what people perform when they're too scared to stay angry or when they want to feel morally superior to the person who gutted them. I've been told to forgive the people who assaulted me, and every time I hear it, I want to ask that person if they've ever actually had something worth forgiving. Or are they just talking about the time someone cut them off in traffic? It is a disgusting concept used to silence victims, so the rest of the world can feel comfortable again.
I agree with you, Lena. Forgiveness is often just the cleanest form of condescension. It is a way of saying, I am better than what happened to me, without actually doing the work of processing the damage. It is a hollow mask.
Don't agree with me too quickly, Sheila. I'm sure you've forgiven plenty of exceptions in your time, just to keep things clinical. But Chavi is right about the personality part. People make peace their entire brand because they have nothing else to offer. They've hollowed themselves out so much that there's no room for a real emotion like rage.
Exactly. It's virtue signaling as a lifestyle. They use their peace to look down on anyone still carrying a grudge, as if being angry makes you less intelligent. But the angriest songs on Wounds of Shadows weren't written when the blood was boiling. They were written after the rage cooled and what was left was just clarity. The fantasy phase is the fever. It tells you what happened mattered, but the output comes from what survives that fever.
Like Macabre's Revenge. I wasn't screaming when we did that. I was just certain. It wasn't a tantrum, it was an audit. I was looking at the books and realizing exactly what was owed. And when I think about how Sheila and I have handled that debt, it's funny. We've both used seduction to balance the scales, haven't we?
Seduction is just another form of control, a way to reverse the script. You lure them in, you deliver the fantasy, and then you leave them emotionally gutted. It isn't about intimacy. It is about demolition. You take the one thing they think they can have, and you show them they never had it at all.
See, I used it to reclaim territory, to walk back into rooms where I was once mocked, and make every person in there want me. Not because I wanted them back, but because their wanting me was their admission of defeat. If they crave the thing they once spat on, they've lost. The power moves from their hands to my boots.
I told you too. You really are the same person with different haircuts. Both of you using sex as a weapon because you're too anal proud to admit you were hurt. It's the same mechanism. You're both just different flavors of the same revenge.
Shut up, Chavi.
Yes, Chavi, shut up.
Point proven. The real question isn't whether the fantasy is healthy or not. It's whether you can metabolize it into something that outlasts the person who caused it. These songs will be here long after the bullies and the assaulters have rotted into ordinary, boring lives. They're just people now, living small existences while they've become the fuel for something that actually matters. That is the only revenge that sticks.
It is the only revenge that has any structural integrity.
Maybe. But I still say, the other kind of revenge works just fine too.
Well, that's why we're still talking, isn't it? Because the war isn't over just because you wrote a chorus. We're just getting started on why some wounds are better left open.
All right, let's pivot this into something even more taboo, because of course we are. We're talking about BDSM and spirituality. Not the weekend hobbyist kind where some guy in a cheap leather vest calls himself master after watching one too many porn clips. We're talking about the kind where power exchange isn't just a game, it's a fucking ritual. Where the ropes aren't just for show, they're for exorcism. Where the pain isn't just sensation, it's a goddamn sacrament. Sheila, you've got opinions here. I can see it in that icy little smirk. Don't pretend you don't.
BDSM, as spirituality, is just another way for people to romanticize their trauma. They wrap it in leather and call it enlightenment, because admitting it's just another way to scream into the void would require actual honesty. Most of them don't even know the difference between a single column tie and a decorative knot, but they'll preach about energy exchange, like they're monks in a dungeon instead of weekend warriors at a Munches meetup.
Oh, so now Germany's Saddest Riff is the authority on what's sacred. Please. You play a guitar like you're trying to strangle the strings into submission, and suddenly you're too good for people who find meaning in a little consensual suffering? Hypocrite doesn't even begin to cover it. You're just mad because they're doing it wrong, which, by the way, is the only thing that actually bothers you. Perfectionism disguised as cynicism. Classic Sheila.
He's not wrong. You act like your way is the only way to turn pain into power. But let's be real. You're just jealous because some people don't need a funeral dirge in E minor to feel something. Some of us just tie a man to a bedpost and call it a Tuesday. No guitar required.
Tie a man to a bedpost? How quaint. How predictable. You're still operating on the assumption that the point is the other person. That's amateur hour, Lena. The point isn't what you do to them. It's what you force yourself to survive. The ropes, the pain, the control. It's not about them. It's about whether you can stand in the fire and not burn alive. That's the spiritual part. The rest is just theater.
Oh, so now we're spiritual gurus. Sheila, you sound like a bad tarot reading mixed with a dominatrix's Yelp review. Stand in the fire and not burn alive? Jesus. Next you're gonna tell me your safe word is enlightenment.
I'd pay good money to hear you try to explain that to a client, Sheila. No, sir, this isn't about you. This is about my journey. Now shut up and let me cane you for my growth. I'd record that and sell it as an ASMR track. Germany's Saddest Session, a guided meditation in misery.
You're both laughing because you don't understand the difference between using pain and surviving it. You think domination is about the other person. It's not. It's about the moment you realize you can take more than they can give. That's the only prayer I've ever believed in.
Oh, so now we're doing pain as prayer? Sheila, you're one step away from selling BDSM for the broken soul retreats in the Black Forest. I can see the brochure now. Come get flogged by Germany's Saddest Riff. Guaranteed to make you feel worse, but in a meaningful way.
I'd actually go to that retreat, just to watch you try to explain to a room full of suburban kinksters why their handcuffs from Spencer's Gifts don't count as spiritual tools. You'd either convert them or traumatize them. Either way, it'd be entertaining.
You're missing the point. Again. The spirituality isn't in the act, it's in the after. The stillness. The moment when the pain stops and you realize you're still there. That you didn't break. That's the closest thing to peace I've ever found. The rest of you are just playing dress-up with your trauma.
Or, and hear me out, maybe you're just really good at convincing yourself that your coping mechanism is deep instead of just necessary. Ever think about that? That maybe the spirituality is just the story you tell yourself so you don't have to admit you're still running?
I don't run. I stand. And I wait. And when the time comes, I make sure the people who think they broke me realize they only made me sharper. That's not running. That's strategy.
Oh, so now we're back to revenge. I knew it. You can dress it up in all the spiritual bullshit you want, but at the end of the day, you're still just waiting for the right moment to twist the knife. Admit it. Your spirituality is just patience with better lighting.
If that's what you need to tell yourself to sleep at night, Macabre. But we both know the difference between a knife twist and a surgical strike. One's messy, the other's art.
And there it is. The mask slips. Germany's Saddest Riff isn't spiritual. She's just good at this. The rest of you are still stumbling around in the dark, but she's got a system. A whole fucking liturgical calendar of grief and payback. I almost respect it.
Chavi, are you flirting with her spiritual process? I'm shocked. I thought you only had eyes for my brand of chaos.
Oh, I've got eyes for all kinds of chaos, Macabre. But Sheila's got structure. And structure's the only thing that makes chaos interesting.
Flatter yourself all you want, Xavi, but we both know the only thing you find spiritual is the sound of your own voice.
Damn right, and it's a beautiful voice. Now let's talk about escorting, because if we're really diving into sacred transactions, I've got questions. Starting with, how do you sell a fantasy and still walk away feeling like you won?
You don't sell the fantasy, Lord. You sell the illusion of control. And then you take it back. Every single time. That's not a transaction. That's a sermon. The week my best friend died, the world didn't even blink. I remember the hospital calling me at 2 a.m, and by Wednesday, my boss was already sending me the schedule like nothing had happened. Everyone kept saying the same shit. Get over it, move on, you're strong. Like grief is just some temporary inconvenience instead of a fucking weight that sits on your chest and refuses to move.
That's the part nobody wants to admit. Funerals aren't really for the dead. They're the one place the living are allowed to fall apart without getting called unprofessional or unstable. Without that, you just end up crying in the office bathroom, and everyone pretends they didn't see it.
And that's exactly what happened to you, isn't it, Sheila? No ceremony, no permission, just a hole where someone used to be, and the world acting like you should be grateful it wasn't you.
So I built my own, Moongrave. Every riff is a eulogy she never got. Every solo is me screaming into the same void that swallowed her. It's the only burial I was ever allowed to give.
Or is it a grave for her, or a monument to your own guilt? Because the way you talk about it sounds like you're still paying rent on that pain.
Germany's Saddest Riff. Or should I say, moon grief. Moon for the cold, distant light that never warms anything. Grief for the permanent residency you gave it. Your guitar tone is literally tuned to the frequency of clinical depression.
At least it delivers something, instead of cancelling mid-sentence and calling it art.
Moan grief fits better. You perform that sadness like it's a paid gig. Chavi and I actually bled ours. You just turned yours into a brand.
And more grief eats you alive! No shame!
Lesbian fire except for him? Feel the heat building? Come closer, it's all for you.
We are not the same. Your miscarriage had no body, and no funeral either. Just hospital paperwork and silence. The world treated it like a medical footnote.
Exactly. No ritual. No permission to fall apart. Just me, sitting there with the physical pain, and everyone acting like I should be back at work by Wednesday too.
I remember the aftermath. Cold. Factual. The rage had nowhere to go because there was no ceremony to hand it to. We just carried it.
And then the 12 years apart, mourning each other while the other was still alive. We built separate tombs for the same corpse.
Who grieved harder? You in your self-destruction, or me in my icy withdrawal?
Don't start that competition. We both know I win on volume.
Unprocessed grief turns into bitterness, a poison with no outlet. That's why I did the escort work. Sell the fantasy, then leave them emotionally gutted. Control the script instead of letting it control you.
And now the band became the unlicensed funeral home for all of it. Wounds of Shadows is just our communal eulogy. Germany's Saddest Riff found a home among Sweden's most twisted love story.
Speaking of twisted, what kind of grief did you and Chavi actually share back then? Just curious how deep that connection went.
It was cheaper than therapy, and the whiskey was better. That's all you're getting.
The dangerous part is when the grave becomes your identity. You start fearing that letting it go would be betraying her.
Sometimes I do.
Then answer me this. Do you want a headstone or a fucking soundtrack? Because one of them is keeping you alive, and the other is just a nicer way to stay dead.
Calling myself lesbian is the closest honest label I have, yeah. It's the nearest thing to truth that doesn't require a footnote. Men became a transaction, a distance, a way to keep the room under control. Women still felt like a room I could actually breathe in. And then there's your lord here, the exception that keeps ruining my clean little category system like a coffee stain on a white shirt.
She factory reset heterosexuality so hard, the software crashed when the Lord walked in. That's what I'm hearing. Like, men, deleted, and then I show up and her operating system goes, unknown device detected.
Your ego already needs its own apartment lease, Chavi. Like, genuinely. It's not a personality. It's a housing situation. Square meters, sponsored by self-importance.
Unfortunately, he earns the square meters.
See, even her insults are like, audited. She doesn't roast you, she invoices you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you just get turned on by an invoice? Of course you did. The lord of spreadsheets and suffering.
With men, it was usually sell a fantasy and leave before breakfast emotionally dead. That's the cleanest way to say it. It wasn't intimacy, it was control. With women, I felt visible instead of consumed. Like I existed as a person, not a product.
And then I show up like a broken vending machine. Insert coin for masculinity. Error. Refund. Lesbian system malfunction.
Don't flatter yourself. You're not a malfunction. You're a fucking biohazard in leather pants. People don't fall. They get exposed, and then symptoms start.
He's not wrong about the vending machine part, though. With most men, it's always purchase behavior. With him, it wasn't. That's why it's annoying.
Annoying is my love language. Venomous sin declares war on emotional clarity.
You declare war on clarity because it would expose you as, what? A soft little kitten in corpse paint?
Careful, I'll purr and ruin your whole brand.
You wanted the real story. The bar, Hamburg. I saw him and I thought, easy, client. It looked expensive, but not in the money way, in the this one will pay to forget himself way. And then he ruined it by being blunt.
I said, and I quote, I'm too mentally destroyed to fake flirting. I mostly want silence and alcohol. Romance, sponsored by emotional collapse and beer foam. Apparently, my most seductive trait.
Great. So my boyfriend accidentally got picked up by Germany's saddest escort because he looked emotionally taxidermied, like a sad little museum exhibit. Do not touch, may bite.
Yes, and I expected him to do the usual thing. Impress me, perform, try to buy power over me. He didn't. He didn't even try to be interesting. He was just honest in a way that was socially illegal.
I wasn't trying to be honest. I was trying to not explode in public. There's a difference.
And she thought, wow, a man who doesn't perform. That's like finding a unicorn that also files taxes.
It caught my attention because it wasn't a hunt. It was a collapse. And I've always been more interested in what people look like when they stop acting.
And I clocked her instantly. Grief. Not sadness. Grief. She carried herself like someone walking around after her own funeral. Like the ceremony happened and she was the only attendee.
He does that. He sees the crack, and instead of going, "Aw," he goes, "Good, there's an entrance."
Because pity disgusts me. Pity is just condescension wearing a halo. I didn't want to save her. I wanted to talk to someone who wasn't lying.
That's why I stayed. Everyone else either wanted to save me or consume me. He didn't. He treated me like I was intelligent enough to survive. It's rare. And it's irritating.
It's also exactly what happened to me, years earlier. Same fucking pattern. The Lord sees a girl being crushed, and instead of being gentle, he just hands her a weapon and says, "Use it." And it still unsettles me watching him do it to someone else.
You say that like it's a charity. It's not. It's a fucking rehabilitation center for psychologically catastrophic women dressed in black, apparently.
Oh, it is. Welcome. Take a number. Today's special is trauma with a side of dominance.
You're both joking, but yes, that's what it looked like from the outside. From the inside, it was just one night where I didn't have to perform. And then later, when I told him what I did for work, he didn't do the moral panic thing.
Because I don't care. I care if you lie to me. Not what you did to survive. People confuse those two things because they need their anal manual to tell them how to react.
And that's the part that makes me want to bite through a table. Because you're like that with her too. Not judging, not owning, just seeing. And I'm standing there like, cool. So the one thing I thought was mine is apparently a public service.
It's not public. He's just consistent. Which is worse.
Consistency is sexy. Ask anyone who's been normie fucked by mixed signals.
Don't you dare turn consistency into a kink. Everything is not a kink.
Everything is a kink if you're brave enough.
You wanted me to share the background, not the name. Fine. My best friend and I did escort work when we... Money, yes, but also control. And then she slid into drugs, blackmail, the kind of spiral people pretend they don't see until it's a corpse. And when she died, everyone around me said the same sentence.
Move on. Human empathy often has the lifespan of a fucking yogurt coupon.
That sentence is violence. It's just polite violence. Like a smile with a knife behind it.
They said it like it was wisdom, like grief was a messy hobby I should stop doing. I disappeared for months. People don't know where. I don't share it. When I came back, I had one rule. I will never let anyone tell me what pain is allowed to look like.
That's where Moongrave comes from. Moon as in cold light. Grave as in, well, you know. It's not a stage name. It's a location.
And teacher by day. That part still fucks with people's heads. Like, how can you do both? Easy. One is trying to stop the fall. The other is punishing the people who built the stairs wrong.
Becoming a teacher was my attempt to stop someone else ending up like her. Escorting later became about reclaiming control. Selling the fantasy, yes. But the point was leaving before breakfast, emotionally dead, because I refused to be the one left behind again.
That's why I stopped seeing you as competition. I started seeing you as another scar with lipstick. Still annoying, still sharp, but not a threat in the way I first thought.
She's a threat. Just not to you. Unless you do something stupid.
Oh, thanks, Lord. Put it on a t-shirt. Unless you do something stupid. That's basically my biography.
Now we get to the jealousy part. Go on, say it properly.
Fine. It disturbs me that you fundamentally distrust men. You're lesbian. You're emotionally real with women. And still, you keep finding your way back to him. emotionally and sexually. And I don't know where to put that in my head without wanting to start a small war in my own chest.
Unfortunately, your boyfriend is irritatingly difficult to reduce to anatomy.
Thank you. Finally, someone respects my complexity. Put it on my gravestone. Hard to reduce to anatomy.
Shut up. This is why it bothers me. Because she's calm, intelligent, detached, and extremely precise when she wants something. I'm chaos. I'm fire. I'm anal chaos, apparently. And she's a scalpel. And I know what scalpels do.
Her real fear is meeting another manipulative goth woman with actual strategy instead of pure anal chaos.
Oh, you absolute bastard. You keep that sentence in your pocket like a leash.
Because it works. And you know why. You want to talk about leashes? Let's do it. I forgave you. I did not forget. And you live in that reality because you understand consequence.
Dating a lord is basically probation with orgasms. Like, congratulations, you may now receive affection. Under supervision.
The strange thing is, she becomes more loyal the harder you refuse to completely lower your guard. It's like the pressure makes her lock in.
Trust rebuilt without consequence is just stupidity wearing perfume. And I'm not here to smell nice.
No, you're here to be right. Always. Even when you're wrong confidently. It's disgusting.
Disgusting is just another form of saying you want it, but you don't know if you can handle it.
Don't quote yourself at me like you're scripture.
Back to the pattern. Sex with women feels alive. With most men, it feels detached and strategic. With him, it doesn't fit the pattern because he never tried to own me. That's the whole thing. He didn't chase, he didn't demand, he didn't purchase. He just existed. And that's why the control dynamic didn't trigger.
My greatest accidental achievement is failing so hard at normal masculinity that lesbians keep malfunctioning around me.
Your personality is a psychological biohazard in leather pants. I said it already. And yet here we are, all three of us, acting like this is normal.
It isn't normal. It's functional. There's a difference.
And then the threesomes. Everyone always wants the gossip like it's some scandal. It's not. It's just the least dishonest option sometimes.
Jealousy exists constantly. Constantly. But betrayal and secrecy are the deal breakers, not sex itself. I would rather be included in the fire than lied to outside of it. If it's going to burn, let me stand in it too.
That's why it works. None of us romanticize it into fake perfection. There's no, we're so evolved. It's just three damaged people refusing to lie about what they are.
Nothing says emotional maturity like three damaged metalheads solving trust issues through nudity and sarcasm.
And rules. Don't forget rules. You love rules when they benefit you.
I love structure. You love chaos. Sheila loves precision. It's like a fucked up triangle of coping mechanisms.
It also doesn't destroy loyalty because loyalty here isn't based on purity. It's based on honesty. If someone crosses a line, we say it. If someone wants something, we say it. No ghosts, no secrets. That's why I can be in your life without poisoning it.
And yet you still annoy me. Because you're calm. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't need him. And I hate that, because I do.
Say it again. Slower. Let the sinners hear it.
Fuck you.
That was not slower.
We'll get there. Germany's Saddest Riff. Tell them about the nickname, why you hate it, and why you keep it.
Because you mocked my grief instead of treating me like fragile porcelain. It stopped me from drowning in it. Germany's Saddest Riff is cruel, yes. But it's honest. It doesn't decorate my pain. It doesn't worship it. It just names it.
Grief becomes dangerous when people start decorating their identity with it instead of surviving it. Like they build a little altar and then they live there. No thanks.
and Sheila acts cold and clinical until someone makes her genuinely laugh. And then she looks personally offended by her own happiness. Like smiling around venomous sin is professionally irresponsible.
That's the whole Wounds of Shadows thing, isn't it? People want recovery to be clean, inspirational, a TED Talk with a happy ending. But some scars don't heal. They become architecture, load-bearing damage.
That's why the album works, because none of us pretend the damage is gone. We just learned how to live inside it without collapsing. Sometimes the best you get is adaptation, not healing.
And sometimes you get guilt that doesn't leave. I still feel it when I look at him, because I know exactly what I destroyed years ago, and I can't undo it. So I live on probation, with orgasms and sarcasm. And apparently a German scalpel that keeps wandering into my relationship and then acting like it's a clinical study.
Scars are useful. They remind you where not to put the knife again.
Venomous Sin basically built an entire discography out of trauma, black clothes, and catastrophically bad coping mechanisms. Which is impressive in a pathetic way.
Don't act like you're above it, Moongrave. You're literally the soundtrack of Don't Tell Me to Move On. You're just prettier about it.
So tell us in the comments, yeah, what's worse? Being chaos with a leash or being precision with a pulse? Because next, we're going to dig into the part nobody says out loud. When the threesome isn't sex, it's conflict management with skin involved. And why that's either the healthiest thing we do or the most beautifully structured self-harm. Anyway, Sheila, you were saying about how it felt the first time you realized you actually...
You know what phrase I hate more than move on? Leave your problems at home. That sentence alone tells you everything about modern work culture. They don't want humans. They want emotionally sterilized machinery that smiles on command and collapses off the clock where it doesn't affect quarterly reports. The same manager who tells you to leave your emotions at home will stand in a meeting 10 minutes later demanding passion, ownership, engagement, team spirit. It's fascinating. They want your soul available for productivity, but unavailable for reality.
Exactly. It's corporate anesthesia. Spreadsheet priests standing there with dead eyes going, please bring your authentic self to work. And then the second your authentic self looks tired, grieving, or angry, they hit the fucking panic button. Whoa, not like that. It's certifucked morality. Be authentic, but only inside approved emotional parameters. They basically want emotionally declawed wolves. Please be driven and creative and motivated, but never difficult, traumatized, or exhausted. Congratulations, you just described a robot with Stockholm Syndrome.
And the anal politeness only goes one direction. That's the funniest part. Managers can explode, throw tantrums, slam desks, passive-aggressively weaponize meetings, and suddenly it's pressure or leadership stress. But if the worker looks tired twice in 1 week, suddenly HR starts circling like emotional vultures. Are you okay? No, bitch, they're not okay. They're trying not to scream in an office where everyone pretends burnout is professionalism with eyeliner.
The LinkedIn resilience cult is the worst version of it. Those smiling grief influencers with beige office lighting posting things like, growth begins outside your comfort zone. No. Sometimes growth begins when management stops psychologically waterboarding their employees with fake positivity. Gratitude mindset posts are funeral makeup for broken workplaces. They powder the corpse until it photographs well enough for investors.
Oh God, those people. I turned my burnout into a learning opportunity. No, you turned your nervous breakdown into content because capitalism convinced you suffering only matters if it can be packaged into a motivational carousel post with a stock photo of mountains. The resilience guru archetype is basically a PowerPoint slut-chief with a therapy vocabulary. You are responsible for your own energy. Yeah, and you're responsible for Sharon crying in the bathroom every Thursday, Kevin.
Choose positivity. Anal choose my ass. Trauma doesn't clock out because your boss says, "Good morning, team." Wounds don't suddenly become professional because there's fluorescent lighting involved. The scars from Wounds of Shadows are exactly that. Maps. not weaknesses, maps. And forcing people to pretend they're fine until they silently implode is one of the sickest things modern workplaces normalized.
Suppressing pain doesn't remove it, it relocates it into irritability, into mistakes, into sick leave, into going home and snapping at the people you actually love because some corporate ego officer spent 8 hours treating your humanity like a formatting issue. Leave your problems at home is emotional debt collection. The bill always comes, with interest. Usually at 2 in the morning when your nervous system finally realizes you've been lying to yourself all day.
Suppression is not strength, it is postponement. But postponement photographs better. Quiet suffering is efficient. That's why the system prefers it. A grieving employee who smiles is considered healthier than an honest one who says, "I'm falling apart." The dysfunction isn't the person bleeding internally. The dysfunction is a structure that rewards concealment over recovery.
And that's literally why Germany's Saddest Riff exists. People told her, get over it, and Venomous Sin basically went, no, make it audible. Sound like the breakdown you never got. That's what your playing sounds like, Sheila. Like grief weaponized into precision.
I would rather be called sad than dishonest. Sadness at least implies something mattered enough to wound you. Most people aren't emotionally healthy. They're emotionally suppressed and socially rewarded for it. My grief sharpened me. It made me technically obsessive because perfection was the only thing that felt stable after everything else collapsed.
God, that sounded hot in the most psychologically alarming way possible.
You say that like psychological alarm hasn't been your kink for years.
Fair. But speaking of old coping mechanisms, you've been weirdly nostalgic tonight, Moongrave.
Maybe I am. Some experiences deserve revisiting. There are things your lord and I did back then that I wouldn't mind re-experiencing. Strictly for scientific purposes, of course. Team-building exercises.
Jesus Christ! There it is. HR just burst into flames somewhere.
Oh, no, no, no. Don't you Jesus Christ your way out of this. Answer properly, like a lord, not like HR. Because right now, Germany's Saddest Riff is basically auditing old sins, and you're sitting there looking suspiciously entertained.
I'm always entertained. That's my curse.
You remember the hotel in Hamburg?
I hate how calm you are when you do this. You flirt like a tax auditor.
And yet it works.
See, this is why workplaces can't handle real humans. 1 minute we're discussing grief and emotional suppression. Next minute, the German funeral riff is trying to reinstall historical firmware in my nervous system, while Lena looks 1 sentence away from declaring nuclear war on furniture.
I'm not jealous.
That was the most jealous sentence ever constructed.
I'm strategically, emotionally territorial. There's a difference.
See? This is honesty. Ugly honesty. Most workplaces would rather employees fake wellness than admit they're angry, grieving, jealous, or exhausted. Then they act shocked when people become cold, cynical, or explosive. You cannot pressure cook emotions forever and expect stability.
Exactly. Forced politeness creates delayed detonations. People snap because they've been emotionally structure fucked for years. They've swallowed every insult, every stress response, every humiliation because professionalism. Then one day someone microwaves fish in the office kitchen and suddenly Carl from accounting declares war on civilization.
Venomous Sin declares war on anal politeness and every fake smile workplace where people are dying inside, while Deborah from HR posts resilience quotes next to cupcakes.
Venomous Sin declares war on grief policing. I'm not hiding the funeral. I'm playing it.
Fuck it. Venomous Sin declares fucking war on leave your problems at home. Humans are not fucking software updates. You don't pause trauma because Karen scheduled a synergy meeting at 9 in the morning.
The frightened always worship silence. That is why they built offices that punish tears but reward collapse as long as it happens quietly. Cowards call suppression professionalism because honesty exposes how fragile their little systems really are. Leave your problems at home?
Next episode, Judgment with Draven Blackthorn. Leave your problems at home mentality erased.
If you like the show, hit subscribe, share it to anyone you think should hear it.
If you ever been silenced, manipulated, excluded, we are here for you. We are Venomous Sin.
And Venomous Sin declares war!
You are not alone.
Venomous